Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March 2023 Librarian Speaks. I am your host, the designated extrovert of the Carter Johnson Librarian Collection, Matthew Carey, and we are here this evening with the librarian, Mama Vi Johnson. Mama, what's going on at the library this month?
Well, let's start with the fact that this is Women's History Month. Now, it's pretty much Women's History Month at the library all the time, but I don't always get to talk to a lot of other women about the female authors that influence them. The other day, I want to blame Hex for this because I know she's around somewhere. Someone put on Facebook, talk about the book that most influenced you. And when I thought back about it, the book that influenced me most, and I got to speak about at the Leather Hall of Fame, was The Story of O. Written by a woman who went under the name Réage, Pauline Réage, but whose real name was Dominique Horry. And how many people here, let me rephrase that, how many slaves and submissives, girls, I believe you all say to the right of the slash, read The Story of O?
Lots of hands. Some two hands.
It definitely influenced me for a lot of reasons and in a lot of different ways. One, because of the story behind it. Some of you know the book was a dare. Réage's lover said that no woman could write in the style of the Marquis de Sade, who was his famous author, his favorite author, forgive me. Réage proved that he was wrong because she definitely copied that style. But the book fascinated me because it was also a psychological study of someone who is in my place. And as I look back now on through Women's History Month, I realized the most influential part of my slavery was another woman. Before I go on to rattle on about some of the other women of this tribe, anybody want to add to that who read The Story of O? I loved stunned silence.
I read it before I ever entered kink, okay? Before I ever became a slave, I read it. And read it and I went, oh my. And that was like the moment that I went, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And then I looked for that and found out that finding that is really freaking hard. At least to find somebody who's not gonna fuck you up, it's really hard. And I was like, that's why it's called fiction. But you know, now 15 years later, here we are. But that book absolutely was like, I want to do that. It was the first thing I'd ever read that had that stuff in it. And I was like, I want to do that.
As I look back on my own history and realize how much of it was influenced by the women of this tribe, by Pat Califia, by Gail Rubin, by Dorothy Allison, by Martha Gibb, by Mistress Meir, who you all have had the chance to meet, by Susan Wright. I realized that while we think of what it is that we do as coming out of a male-dominated culture, there are so many women who are major influences in this tribe that we tend to forget about them. And last month, which was Black History Month, a young lady here who is also one of my Pearl siblings that I'm very proud of, and Hex, you're about to feel the bus run over you, did a whole series of Black folk and their contributions to this tribe. It's an amazing series, and I would suggest you check it out. But a lot of the people that Hex talked about were the women of this tribe, of Sandy Reinhardt, of Lady Coco, of the original Pearls, of some of the women that I have already named and their influence. Now, I'm hoping she's going to do the same thing this month for Women's History, but I'm not quite sure she's prepped for it. But had to give her a shout out, because when I think of young women who are up and coming and moving in this tribe, she's one of them. Now that I've made her blush, when it comes to chat time and all of y'all are talking to each other and I've gone to bed, ask her about this series. Now,
Consider red Aztecs.
thinking in terms of women's history in this tribe, and something that we were privileged to do, it's hard to believe it's been almost 2 years ago. Tony Salini, and I will be speaking about Tony in terms of women in this tribe, convinced me that the library needed to do a program called Voices Seldom Heard. And I got to spotlight a lot of young authors who are just starting out, who literally had produced their first book through COVID. I got to give shout outs and then allow them to brag about their own work. Some of you know Tammy Jo Eckert, a wonderful writer for this tribe, not just for the kinky stuff, but for an awful lot of really great science fiction and fantasy that has kink woven into it. Tammy is an Indiana native, and we get to say, whenever we just need a dose of really good writers, come on down. Someone that most of you think of in terms of the NCSF, as a matter of fact, I might as well start showing some pictures. And you would think of her as part of the NCSF because Susan Wright founded the National Coalition for Sexual Freedom. But most don't realize she's also an incredible writer. Has written science fiction and fantasy, and believe me when I tell you, it's good stuff. Some of those women who have influenced me, let me see now. I was just talking about Tammy Jo Eckert. This is one of her latest, and I tend to pick up Tammy Jo's books in blocks of 7 because I have 7 rotten children. And anytime they land on the mothership, they tend to go, so what you got? And if I have 3 copies, one of them's walking out the door, so I might as well just get a number of them. But if you want to read great female-based science fiction and fantasy, look up Tammy Jo. Wonderful writer for this tribe. Now, taking a quick step back into my past, because in the last, 50 years, holy mackerel, Jill and I have been privileged to know a lot of wonderful people, many of whom are names that you're aware of. Most of you know Dr. Gail Rubin, but not a lot of people remember that of the founding mothers, and I would consider 4, Gail Rubin, Patrick Califia, Joe Arnone. The 4th was Dorothy Allison. Dorothy was not only active in the early days of the NLA, she went on to become a prolific and actually rather famous writer. But most don't realize Dorothy is also a leather woman. The most famous of her writings actually ended up being a motion picture called Bastard Out of Carolina, which was, some would argue biographical, some would say semi-biographical. But being able to read what she's written, as well as call her friend, puts a whole new dimension to that. Someone else that I was privileged to call friend managed to produce this lovely piece of work for the young ones starting out who are wondering exactly how to do it correctly. So if you're wondering what it would take to put a hand in the bush, read the work of my dear Miss Deborah Addington, and she's on Facebook. if you have questions. So after you read it, find her on Facebook and ask her. See, what other wonderful things am I pulling out of here?
While you're looking, I'm going to say some of the women that I have had the most influence on me are in the Zoom currently, as there is a Lady D, there is my producer, Miss Catherine Gross, and the woman on your screen right now, Miss Mama Bot.
Now, probably one of the books that is the most influential for us across the board was a little missive that someone called Screw the Roses send me the thorns. Now, yes, the duo who wrote it were Molly Devon and her master, Philip Miller. But this is a unique piece because it is not just full of good art and great photographs, it's also rather funny. It helps us learn all the things that we do while also learning not to take ourselves too seriously. And as I have gone back through this book over the years, and I've given out more copies of it than I probably could afford to, thank God they were the original publishers of To Love, To Obey, To Serve, because when I hit my 50th copy of this, it can get a little expensive at $25 a book. But when you go back through it, when you find yourself smiling, laughing, or simply enjoying the read, you're actually reading Molly. I loved reading a brand new author. At some point in time, I am going to meet Unruly Nerd Girl because this little book on protocol events is a fabulous read. I have suggested to her that next time she should add some photos. But if you'd like a basic primer on how to run a protocol event, written mostly for those of us to the right of the slash, but also by a young female writer.
DA says that Unruly Nerd Girl will be at South Plains Letterfest.
I might have to go fangirl and bring my copy and ask her. Some of you, and now I'm working to get my one of my many daughters to come and speak to you. Some of you know who Goddess Lakshmi is, but not a lot of you know that she has one book out all on her own of Safe Beginnings. It is a book very much like Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns, written for beginners. How do you start? How do you find them? Where do you find groups? Where do you find people to talk to? All of that is in Safe Beginnings. And then the last book that I pulled up, although most assuredly not the least, I'm proud of for a lot of different reasons, because this wonderful little missive and one more. Do I have Tony's other book? This one is called Stepping Into Our Own Power. It is basically a journal that teaches you how to record your own story so that you can look at both your path to get to where you have gotten, as well as how to store your memories, your stories, and the things that make each of us the leather folk that we are. Now, part of the reason I'm proud of this one is because, again, Tony is a fairly young, by my standards, writer, now retired college professor, but this and her next book were also written while she was a scholar in residence at the library. We've talked before about young scholars, and to me, a scholar is anyone who is seeking knowledge. Coming and spending time at the library and being able to stay in the scholar's room for a day, a weekend, up to a month, researching, exploring, writing, painting, creating, whatever it is. And in Tony's time at the library, she has produced 2 books, another woman writer. Some of the other writers that we spotlighted when we did Voices Seldom Heard, and that was his intent, was Hilly Little. I was curious about Littles. I asked her to do a workshop. She ended up writing a book. Hermobi Droxina, for those of you who know The Craftsman and the Wonderful Leather Woman, you might not know that one of Hermobi's projects was called the Flag Project. Over a series of about 15 different event weekends, she set up a camera, brought props, and the most important of them was an American flag. And she asked people to pick the props that would express their thoughts about the flag. It was a fascinating and moving piece. If you have not seen her workshop, it's still available through the library channel. But if you haven't seen the book, I would suggest you try and find a copy either on Amazon or from Hermobi. She is also on Facebook. It's called The Flag Project. And then what mention of women writers would be complete without, of course, talking about our own Lori Antoniou. Everyone knows the Marketplace series, but there is so much more to Lori than that. She's written for Star. She wrote a book way back in the day on kink and technology. She has written about John Preston, for those of you who would know him. She has written at least 2 other books dealing mostly with leather women, and she has edited countless more. There is so much to talk about when we talk about women in this tribe. And during this wonderful month of March, it would be a good thing for everyone here to find one leather woman and read her book. So that's my pitch for both friends and authors. And that doesn't count the dozens that I know I have left out.
Could you please tell us the title of Hilly Leather Little's book? Do you happen to know it? We'll research it. I'll get to Google Queen on it.
Thank you.
There's a book you forgot to mention. Do you have a copy of that right there beside you?
What, the one that my new publisher is putting out?
Yes, that one.
The one with the much prettier cover?
It's an alternate cover. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, wouldn't be talking about this one, would you?
Yeah, that one.
I know the old bat who wrote it.
So do I.
She's a pretty good old gal, though.
Take huge offense to that. I know that woman personally, and she is dear to me. You take it back.
Okay, can we say, yeah, I stand by old bat. I know her.
I argue with her too, but
You
she's
know?
not an old bat.
For those who aren't aware, Mama's book is back in print. The link is in the chat. Do not pay $300, $600, $900, $1,200 for it at Amazon.
I sent 2 people to the website today. One approached me and said, I cannot afford the $400 and some odd they want for it on AB Books, which is one of my favorite book sightings, but holy Christ, you all pay that amount of money to the library. When we're together, I'll tell you those stories.
Catherine, I've been trying to teach everybody the 5-year rule. I've been working on that since we came up with it.
So we probably stack these under my desk so that I can move.
DA says, Unruly Nerd Girl texted me and asked where I bought that book. She is a fan of yours as well. DA, please get us a video of them fangirling over each other. That would be priceless. Thank you.
You know, it was such a wonderful encounter. I wanted to know more about Little, so I set out to find someone who could teach me. And since I had the luxury of doing the event, I got to do an event about things that usually aren't covered at other leather events. So I got to actually publicize a lot of voices that are seldom heard. And it was fun, with a little bit of energy. And when my physical therapist stops abusing me, maybe we'll do it again.
Peg would like to know when at SPLF would be a good time to see if they can get their books signed.
I am going to be hanging around when I'm not running to a class or doing some things for the Leather Solidarity Collective. You will probably find me in the library. Where else do you find storytellers?
On a hip little yellow scooter thing.
Me and Maya Linker.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second.
Okay.
Why did you mention a Little's book in those that you were mentioning?
Yes. It's
What
by
is the name and author of that?
Did I mention? I didn't hear you, Sean.
Hilly Leather Little.
Hilly Leather Little.
Okay,
And
what's the
I
title of the book?
She doesn't
Because
remember the
she's
title
not.
of the book.
I have just forgotten it. I bought 4 copies. Even my copy went out the door, so I'm going to have to buy another one.
Damn kids.
Another 2 or 3.
Damn kids.
Those of you that are waiting for a name, it does not come up immediately on Google, but I will work on it.
Check Amazon, sure.
I did.
No?
She's checking. We'll have it. Well, she'll find it. All right. Book of the month. What's your book of the month? Or books? You have books of the month.
Let's do an interesting segue into this. Today is Wednesday. Monday. I got an interesting question from someone in Kentucky about whether or not there was a leather person in this area of Evansville, Newburgh, who was a car mechanic. And I honestly didn't know. So in going back through a little newsletter that was popular here about a year ago, I looked through maybe 8 issues, couldn't find a mechanic. So my question is, what do a program, a really hot leather magazine, a leather newspaper, and a leather newsletter all have in common?
I know.
Were they all written by the same person?
I should be so lucky. It would have made my search a whole lot easier.
They all have ads in them.
They all have advertisements. Now, so often you have heard me talking about saving your things, saving your story, and why having memorabilia, anecdotes, the things that reflect who you are as kinky people is so important. But one of the things that we forget about is the importance, not just of the program. Yes, the program documents the event, the presenters. Keeping the program documents the fact that you were there and a part of this event, because programs are done in very, very low numbers. But the other thing that programs, newsletters, magazines all have in common are the people who support us. And things like an advertisement by a realtor. His name was Kent Curry. Kent was also a Leatherman. The advertisements help make the events, yes. But more importantly, if they're helping to make the event, there's a reason. And that reason, is simple as it may sound, is either they are us or they are allies of us. Now, before I get to the book that I wanted to talk about, like everyone, I have the usual ups and downs that go with the bumps and bruises of life. My house may need a roof. My car may need repair. I'm looking for a mechanic, a doctor, a therapist, whatever. I'm a firm believer in spending my money first and foremost with my own people. It's almost a religion for me. I want my money to go to the people who are part of my tribe, who believe in what I do and who do it with me. And that is the advantage of that advertisement. If they are willing to put their money into the printed matter that we pick up, they are probably also willing to help out behind the scenes with prizes, volunteering their time, because they are us. The flip side of that is, how do we find them? Other than having to go back through 50 programs, oh, there's got to be a mechanic or a plumber in here somewhere. But where are they? Now, Shar, did you make that image for me? The book that I want to talk about very briefly was published by a good friend, now deceased. Some of the old dogs have read the work of a Canadian writer named Trevor Jacques. Trevor was a classic Leatherman, wonderful man, active with the NLA in Toronto, active with the gay scene in Toronto. He was a physicist, amongst other things. But he was also, very much like me, a firm believer in, we have to support our own. Now, in 91, Trevor started working on a book. The book that he was working on was The Gay Guide to Canada. It basically was a gay leather version of the old Green Book. Where are our hotels? Where are our bars? Where are the mechanics, the doctors, the lawyers, the therapists in Canada who are us? He then took that idea and did the same thing with our community, with the alternative sexuality community. And the book was called Alternate Sources. It took Trevor about 4.5 years to put the book together. Is it now incredibly dated? Yes. It was effectively part Yellow Pages, part Community Digest of every business, club, hotel, bar, etc., anywhere in the leather world. So that when we traveled, we could stay in places that were friendly to us. When we needed something and we wanted our people first, we could go to a particular entry, and there were well over 4,000 or 5,000 entries in the book in over 20, I would say 23 or 24, it's been a while, categories. But how would I know that Cecily, forgive me, also types like a banshee if she didn't tell me? How would I know, for instance, that Sir Cecil might be a therapist or no therapist? How would I know where to spend my money unless we start looking at our greatest resource, which is us, and begin to put those pieces of information together. When we are not in our leather, we are still kinky people, we are still leather folk, but we also contribute a great deal to society. We are plumbers, electricians, doctors, lawyers, etc. And Trevor's idea for what was effectively a worldwide community resource so that we could find us, I think we are due to begin to look at again and repeat. Yes, we are living in more dangerous times. There are more psychos out there. But I think the very nature of the fact that as a community we have to pull together probably needs to be the motivating factor to create either an online, because I understand print is expensive, or a printed version of what is effectively a new source guide for this community. So I figured tonight of all nights I would throw that out there, because I am hoping to work with the crazy one who keeps the library website to start an area in the website where if somebody wants to be listed for what they do, mechanic, plumber,
Yes.
etc., we can start very slow, just like Race Bannon originally did with his kink guide, and begin to say, look, my name is so-and-so, my business is, and I'm located, so that we can put our money where our tribe is. So what am I celebrating today? An old friend, Trevor, I miss you. He died 2 years ago. And all right, Trevor, I'm still talking about your work.
Mama, is this the Little's book?
Yes.
That link was put in chat. I think folks already have it in their cart, so I just wanted to make sure that was the right one.
And right now, I think it's the only book that's easily available by a little with little stories.
It's the only one I've heard of so far. Do you have a box we need to open?
And now, I've been saving this one because I've been dying to get into this box, and I've been behaving myself until today. Ephraim sent me a gift. And as usual, it weighs more than I do, and that's going some considering my size. I have talked about Ephraim Gonzalez before. For those of you who are curious to actually talk to him, Ephraim is on Facebook. He is an extraordinary photographer whose history in this tribe goes back almost 40 years, and who has been photographing this tribe and the tribal events, New York Pride, things in the tri-state area, a lot of the National Leather Association events, the different hotels, the events held in hotels in the New York area, the dungeons of the tri-state area, and a lot of people from that area. And this box has got to weigh 30 pounds. So in doing the classic unboxing, this time you all get to do it with me, and I get to find out what Ephraim has sent the library today. the only room in the center that has been named so far.
Matthew, could you make
I was waiting for a moment there.
Has been
Mama,
named for Ephraim.
we have a guest that snuck in.
Who
Hilly?
snuck in here?
Hilly,
Ephraim, where are you?
do you mind if I spotlight you?
Who snuck in here?
Somebody
Me.
snuck in on you. I'm working on it.
I see Emily.
Hi, Mama.
Darling, I was just talking about you. Were your ears burning?
Maybe just a tiny little bit. Yeah, I heard that there was talk, and I had 3 different people reach out to me asking about my book. And by the 3rd time somebody reached out, I was like, hey, I wish I could get into this conversation. I want to say hi to Mama Bye. So, yeah, here I am in my natural glory. This is my zombie swamp lady look.
I don't know. You look adorable to me.
Oh, quit it. I'm gonna be like redder than I already was.
Blushing just makes it cuter.
Before I get into Ephraim, okay, Hilly, you're an author. What made you write the book?
Well, I don't know if this is gonna sound bad or not, but my initial reason for writing the book started when I had a fantasy that I really, really wanted to act out with my Sarah, but I really can't stand the idea of like writing atop a script of like, here's all of the things I would like you to do to me in this order, with this tempo. Yeah, but like, I also don't want to just like leave it all up to chance. And there was a scene that I was craving that involved some kind of a melding of my slave side and my little side coming together in just like a really, really hot scene, similar to any number of amazing scenes that my sir and I had over the course of the pandemic. So I started off by just trying, well, my attempt was going to be to write this erotica. But then my fingers kind of had a mind of their own and started basically just writing from start to finish, like detailed account of like my relationship with my sir from like the first date onto what was at the time present day, and that was June or July of 2020. That was all just because I was trying to give some kind of backstory to the character that I was building up to write the erotica for. But because I can't stand the idea of just writing out a like to-do list of things to do to me, I really wanted to give it some depth so that like it made sense when this character continued to act out this scene that I was craving, I guess. So after about 4.5 Word document pages, I was like, okay, wow, so much backstory. Let's get on to the hot part. Should we? Yeah, like let's really get on to the hot stuff. All right. And then I honestly, my fingers just kind of took on a life of their own. I mean, I've written erotica before. This is a thing that I've been known to do. It's kind of a habit of mine. Whenever I'm kind of craving a certain kind of scene, I will write a short story erotica about the scene. And then I would present it to whichever the top was that I wanted a scene with. And they would kind of take that as sort of this is a rough draft, but they can, deviate, whatever. And yeah, it just took on a life of its own. It's the first time it became something so much more than just this hot scene that I was craving. It was the first time that it really started to tell the story of Jack and Allie and how they came to be, because it was really like telling the story of our experience through the course of the pandemic, because my sir was completely green when we met, like had barely any experience in the BDSM lifestyle or kink lifestyle whatsoever. So obviously, me being me, I so very graciously and selflessly gave of my body and myself for him to practice on.
Mhm.
That was the first time I realized that like there is such a thing as a bad spanking. I didn't think that there was like an actual technique to spanking until the gentleman who is now my sir gave it terrible. You didn't hear me say that, but I was just kind of like, oh my God, dude, where is your rhythm? Back and forth, back and forth. Come on. Also, you're hitting my thigh and the side of my hip. Aim right. Oh my God. So we, through the course of the pandemic, just kind of experimented and continued scening until we sort of really found a groove of our own. And I wouldn't recommend this to most people because there was some blood a few times that we learned from. The first time there was blood, we didn't have a first aid kit, or what I now refer to as a drop kit, which is basically like all of the essentials you need for an emergency, a medical, anything, as well as like whenever either a top or a bottom is going to drop. And I learned that there's multiple reasons why your body should be perfectly hydrated for a scene. I understood the need to be hydrated so that, you know, like you're in your best mental self and you're like physically able. What I didn't realize until I learned it the hard way was that your skin needs the hydration too. Because at the time I didn't have much of a butt, and he had me bent jackknifed over the footboard of my bed. So the skin stretched taut, and he was using a particularly vicious paddle. And then all of a sudden, my skin broke. And at first, it was just a little bit of blood. We didn't think it was a big deal. Like he went down and reached down to grab a paper towel. I bent over to help him. And me bending over to help him spread the skin even more. And that was when there was an explosion of blood. It was bad. All we had were paper towels, some antiseptic spray, and a little box of Band-Aids we caught during a Muses parade at Mardi Gras.
Oh,
Mama, do me a favor and mind the top of the box that has an address on it. You're holding it up in front of the camera. We'll blur it on the video. No worries.
But yeah, I'm sorry to go on a long giant tangent, but that's kind of what drew me to writing this. Was I wanted a hot scene with my boyfriend, and it took on a life of its own because by the time I was writing this, that man had stolen my heart, and I really just wanted to tell the story of my love and affection for this man that helped me grow through the pandemic and made the pandemic one of the most positive times in my life, ironically enough.
Oh,
and book 2 is coming out when?
Okay, don't pressure me. Although, I mean,
Just asking.
I don't know. Whenever the inspiration strikes, he lives in Phoenix now, so I don't really have the like motivation to write a scene because he's far away where we can't see. Although, now that you mention it, I mean, eventually we are gonna have to make up for that time.
And LDR little daddy relationships are a real thing.
I mean, yeah, seriously. Wow. Way to call me out, Chow. Jesus.
And I mean, what better way to entertain
love
when the two of you aren't together than maybe sending a story or two?
You're getting my creative juices flowing, and I'm not even sure I was even ready for it yet. But guess what? Side note, I am gonna be in Chicago in like a little over a week and a half, and I'm gonna go and see the Leather Archives Museum. And I'm
cool.
going because I'm going to CapCon, which is the age players CGL littles yada yada convention. It's a convention for age players and littles and stuff, which I've dreamed of going to for years, and I'm going in like a little over a week and a half. So
And then you're going to drive due south and visit us?
how far are you away from Chicago? Because I am going to be renting a car.
By car, we are exactly 6 hours. Get on Highway 41, drive due south for 6 hours until you hit Route 66 or the Lloyd Expressway. When you hit the Lloyd Expressway, pull into the Chuckles And somebody will either give you directions to the library or come get you.
I'll come get her. I'm right up for it.
Yeah, it's not far.
Hilly,
You were asking a lot, and my ability to resist this is all but nil.
Did I mention there's a room where you can stay? Did I mention that?
Are you teasing me?
look,
This
look,
is temptation
look, everybody.
personified.
It's a perfect example of heavenly bodies and gravity wells that I'm always talking about. You just got to watch it live.
That's the reason I told some of you no to say no right there. That's it.
Hilly, I'm so glad you were around and watching your phone. They were talking about your book, and then we went looking for the link to the book. And then
No, actually, it was after about the third person who messaged me in like tandem, like one person after another. Then about the third time of someone like, "Hey, what's that book of yours that you wrote?" Which I still to this day struggle to call it a book because it's barely even enough of a word count for a novella. But once I get
It's
a
in
part
print
two,
and we can buy it. It's a book.
yeah, it is. Okay. Oh my god, I'm sorry, you guys. You really caught me literally in the middle of my like. I was in the hospital for
oh no.
a while, and I've been like recovering from a pretty rough situation. But luckily, the situation is under control. But I've basically been like in my bedroom for 3.5 weeks.
Well, congratulations on being the first live squirrel that we've actually had. My job in all of this is to keep Mama, because she'll be telling a story and then squirrel and then squirrel and then squirrel and then squirrel, and my job is like the bumpers in a bowling alley. Is just to keep her heading towards the pins. And you're the very first live squirrel we've ever had pop into the Zoom. So this was fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to stick around. I got to get Mama back on schedule.
I don't even know what this is about, but I'm here for it. I will have to disappear pretty soon because I was actually in the middle of trying to make my dinner. But when I got all the messages and found out I could actually say hi to Mama Vi, I was like, dinner can wait.
Everybody that messaged Hilly, please let Hilly know what Librarian Speaks is and how to find us.
And I'll see you in a few weeks in South Plains.
Yes, ma'am.
Or a week and a half at the library.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah, okay. It's gonna happen, Mama. Get ready for it.
Heavenly bodies, gravity wells.
All of my love. I gotta run and make dinner. All of my love.
Thanks, Hilly. It was fabulous meeting you. You're a great sport for coming on.
Thank you. Shawi, can you send me some links, updates, or whatever the information?
I'll get you hooked up, honey.
Get her the
Thank you.
411, please, Joey.
I'll make it happen.
Mama's got a
Thank
box that no longer has an address on it.
But also, all of my love.
See you soon, one way or the other.
One way or the other, it's gonna happen.
Live squirrels. That's new. I like it.
Okay, this box on my lap, which is legal.
I was wondering when that was going to start getting to you.
Matthew, if you could make her Paul Lind so that we could actually see what's in the box as she's pulling out.
She's spotlit. Change your view to speaker.
There we go.
Okay. That might be a little bit better. What I have here are lots and lots and lots of very well. Oh, that one says survive. That gets put over here.
Lots of photos and no gloves.
I love the way Ethan does things.
You saw me try, right?
Because part of what he has been convinced to do with this amazing photographic library of his, and wanting to have his work preserved, is label all of it. Now, I can't even begin to imagine what it would take to do some 30,000 photographs. But First of the envelopes pulled out. Cross-dressing wedding. I was hired to photograph a couple who were in fetish and wanted to cross-dress for the wedding. The bridesmaids were all trans or CD held, and it was held at the Baltimore Playhouse. After the wedding, everyone went into the playroom to begin to change and get comfortable. For the rest of the wedding, they rented a hotel so that all of the cross-dressers could change, undress, change clothes, and their makeup. This was 2001.
Please remember this video is going on YouTube and be selective with the photos you put up.
And an incredible, holy mackerel, I know some of these people.
Imagine that.
And an incredible stack of photos of the wedding, just going through some of the guests, of some of the things that were going on. There are probably 60 pictures just in this set. I want to see what else is written in there. Now, the wonderful thing is, as we go to file these, some will be put into photographic books. Some are going to be filed just the way we get them. In file cabinets of Eford, and we will probably catalog these based on probably year and location. Cecily, we will talk about things like this when you get here. Two dominatrixes opened a dom play space in a factory space in Deer Park, Long Island, next to the Long Island Railroad. We did a lot of photo shoots with scenes from medieval to trans women to cross-dressing. And some really hot bondage. Deer Park Doms 2002. And all of these, almost all of these are labeled front and back for names, locations, places. I have no idea who this lovely thing is.
Oh, that's a great photo. Oh,
That is a beautiful shot.
yeah.
I'm putting this one back in its envelope. I just want to see what, these are the kinds of things that Ephraim says. This is his life work. He's been shown at any one of a number of incredible art galleries and photographic galleries. He's been honored with countless awards from the city of New York and the tri-state area. 2001, needle play on My Girlfriend Judy in her home in upstate New York.
Yeah, just put that one down. Thank you.
Fest 2001 in New Jersey.
Cool.
Wow. Judy and Kim are getting peace by Raylene Galena. Man, that's a name that brings back all kinds of memories. For those who are into body modification and have looked at the work of course, Fakir Musafar, who's the father of body mod, and his good friend Jim Ward. When back in the early days, when the guys were just beginning to take on apprentices, I guess you could call them, some became very well known. Probably the best known of all of the piercers for this tribe was Raylene Galena. And Raylan died about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Raylan did a lot of work with the early days of the National Leather Association, contributed her time to more fundraisers than I think there are grains of sand on most beaches. And has pierced or done cuttings, permanent or otherwise, on people all over North America. Mike and Julie in my studio in Brooklyn, needle play.
Oh.
This is a photo shoot with Marvin from Canada and his friend. I finished
I know.
photographing Marvin just before the Charles Gatewood show in Williamsburg. I took photos of Marvin on the bridge and later at Folsom. Fetish play in Berlin, Connecticut. This party was driven to by Nona Sands. That's another pro-dom I haven't, whose name I haven't heard in years. I don't even know if Nona is still alive. Whoa, with pictures falling out of a folder. Something about the Roseland Ballroom. And a whole lot of pretty amazing tattoo work. Tattoo Con at the Roseland Ballroom on 52nd Street, Isabella Valley. She would take off all her clothes in the middle of the Rosebud and then be photographed. I can understand that. And all sorts of wonderful people who have been inked, who are at this conference, and just looking at this one makes my non-existent testicles hurt.
Don't, please.
Okay, moving right on.
You know I have to edit this, right?
I have to blur all of these.
This one, see, it's just a whole
There
lot.
you go.
And that's just this one edition of people who were at the tattoo convention. Photos taken in Deer Park, Long Island. The owners were trying to train a new girl to be a dominant in training. Weekend at La Domaine Eastman, a British breakfast place in upstate New York. Cool. And there are probably, based on the envelope, at least 70 photos in here. You gotta like it when they're unmarked.
You were mentioning Ephraim's honors. Isn't his name on something in the library?
His name is on all kinds of things in the, well, the Ephraim Gonzalez room in the center is named after him. I have no idea what this one is. This is the first envelope I pulled out that's up. Oh yeah, okay. Edit it. Oh my.
Mama, it has been requested on my phone several times at this point that you are apparently sticking around for at least a little bit of the after party and sharing some of these pictures.
Leather Pride Night, 2001.
Nice.
That's going back a long time. Jesus. For those,
And y'all watch Mama go away.
oh man. Benny Waller.
Oh, it's a great shot of Lenny too.
For those not familiar with Leather Pride Night, back in the day, after dinosaurs roamed the earth, the clubs of New York would get together to do a fundraiser each year. It was a huge auction. It was the place where title holders were seen because all of the auction items were brought out and either modeled or carried by the title class of that year. The auctioneer was Joe Arnone, who was also the founder of one of the two founders of the Lesbian Sex Mafia. And thousands were raised in those few hours that would then go to the charities that supported us. Bidding wars were quite common. Most of the big leather makers of the day were sending in items that had been made specifically for the event. You could get anything from a magazine to a fully stocked dungeon, all of which have been donated to raise money. Most of the theaters of New York donated tickets to their shows. A lot of the restaurants did the same thing. And in the course of those few hours of incredible socializing, a lot of charities got money that helped their causes. We have '06, 18. I'm not even sure what this is, but it looks fascinating. It's a picture of the photographer is taking a picture of another photographer. In this case, the photographer happens to be Janet Ryan. Some wonderful prints of Folsom Street East. Yeah. It's
Good.
covered.
I didn't cringe too hard.
These are the kinds of cataloging fantasy/nightmares depending on any given day. Books, a notebook of, needles going places that make me cross my legs.
Me too. There are videos of Efren unboxings on the YouTube channel, which I just threw the link to. It's fun to watch Mama look at pictures from.
And there are knives, which is
Good
kind of
night.
hot,
Good
actually.
night, Catherine. Thank you for joining us.
Is that Ms. Gross checking out?
Yes.
Hi, Catherine. And all sorts of just,
Look, we got her back. She came back. Yay.
just wonderful stuff that will
I'm pretty sure we're gonna need to see all three of those.
in the bookcases in the Efren Gonzalez room.
All right.
And this is a suspension party at a place called Hidden Shadows in New York in 2005.
I'm thinking that's not rope suspension that you're talking about, maybe?
You got that right.
Now that song's in my head.
Well, actually, that's not entirely true. Ropes are involved because something has to go through the hook.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Scott says no. And that was Ritual Steel was just in your neck of the woods, wasn't it, Master Cecil?
Yeah, just last month,
Yep.
early last month.
Yep.
What a time, by the way. Holy crap, if you can catch a Ritual Steel experience, you need to catch it.
All right, Mama, it's time to bounce off the bumper and back down the road towards the pins.
Well, at least when this one's came, this was all from the suspension party. See, I found one picture that I could show you.
All right, because I know folks are asking, and you can talk about it while you're doing that. I know you're going to be at South Plains Leather Fest.
Yes.
So you're going to be there. And somebody asked earlier what other events you might be at this year.
The things that I know I'm going to. We're going to South Plains, me and the linker and whatever physical therapy that I can handle. And probably not going out again because we have any number of groups coming to visit the library through the late spring and the early summer. The Women of Leather Atlanta are going to be here for a week. We have 2 artists. Our artist in residence, Crow, is due to come back. One of our poets in residence is also due to come back. And 2 groups from St. Louis are coming in. We're also going to be working on the new garden in the back of the center and library. And as soon as we can get a little bit more work done, we'll be recording that as well, so that you can see the next phase of how the library is evolving. I will be with the library at MSC. I am determined I will not miss that event this year. And then right after MSC, half the staff turns around and we go to Los Angeles because the library is doing an exhibit at the Museum of Contemporary Art. So currently, I'm sure I've probably forgotten something, but those are the big events coming up.
I am IMSL LB.
I'm not going to IMSL this year. That will be Jill. I don't think I can handle it having just come off a 4-day event 3 weeks before. So instead of me trucking off to New Jersey, we send the IMSL. After all, Jill was an international Ms. Leather. I was just the Black Widow. And yes, there was a group called Black Widows. We were the title widows who supported our partners. Now, I prefer the phrase, we're called Black Widows because we eat our mates, but the person who founded the group didn't exactly see it that way. Let's see now, what else is here? Oh, she's pretty too.
You mentioned the rock garden. Tell me about the rocks.
The rock garden. We've talked about that a little bit in a previous, when do we talk about it? In February at televised?
I believe so.
At televised or January, somewhere in there.
Yes.
This will make more sense once we actually get to film it and show it to you. For those who have been following some of the pictures that have gone up on Facebook over the past year, we installed a labyrinth so that people can walk the labyrinth in meditation. And a number of people have come in to walk the labyrinth. We are in the process of doing next level work on a celebration garden that we have named for Jill's and my houseman / house elf. It's a little hard to describe Gene. Some people say he is our version of Creature, if you are familiar with the Harry Potter stories. And that's probably a fairly accurate definition of Gene. He died not quite 2 years ago, having been with us for 25 and a half years. He asked that we build him a garden. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. But in building that garden for Gene and in doing other work on the back of the center, and this shows you some of it, We added a pergola. We added the labyrinth, but I began to realize that as a tribe, we don't have a place to put our memories. And that's not necessarily just memories of those who have passed on, but memories we want to celebrate. So I created a few rocks to honor my nieces who were married and in that pergola and who walked the labyrinth, as well as to remember friends and wonderful things, as well as people we have lost. So that I celebrate the fact that Pulse rang the bell for those who understand what it means to become cancer-free, or to celebrate the fact that a dear friend, Sir Guy de Brownsville, survived open heart surgery, or to honor good friend and almost a leather son, Bud McClure, who built that labyrinth with me so that Lynn and Margaret could walk the labyrinth as part of their wedding ceremony. And we made a rock for Gene to add his memory to the garden. Now, what we are opening up to the tribe is send us a rock of the good things, of the memories, of things that you want remembered or celebrated. A hand fasting, a covering, the birth of children, as well as those who passed on, so that we as a tribe have a place to put those special memories that we can come visit, or you can come and lay the rock yourself. It's not about raising money for the library. If you want to send a check, that's wonderful, but it's not necessary. It's not about using the people who have made the rocks for me. If you can engrave a rock, do it. If you want to paint a rock, paint it. If you find something special and want to tag it to a message, do it. This way you have a place where it will be kept, where it will be celebrated, and where if you want to, you can come visit. You want to celebrate the creation of a new club, carve it on a rock and send it to us. Whatever it is that you want to preserve and celebrate. Make the rock, send it to us. We will put it in the garden.
Pulse says it does not feel like it's been 2 years. I'm going to say it does feel like it's been 2 years because we've still got a pulse. Feels like it from this side. Oh, he's talking about Gene. I'm sorry. Yes, that doesn't feel like that. That's, yeah. I thought he was talking about.
If you want it big or small, if you want to paint it yourself, send the rock to us. We will put it in the garden, or make the rock, bring it with you, and put it in the garden. Either way, it's to create that spiritual place where you know the memory is there and you can always come and visit.
All right, folks. It's the favorite time of the I guess, is this a show, or are we doing a show? I don't know what to call it. The Zoom. Does anybody have questions? Got a lot of folks tonight. Raise your hands if you have questions. Unmute and interact with Mama.
I have a quick thought to tag on the back of what Mama just said. I think it's, as an old fart, I think it's important to have touchstones, and it's important to have places that we can go and touch. There's a lot of people in this room that feel the same way, and I know that. But to those of you that haven't lost a lot of stuff yet, or can't remember, haven't got to the point where you can't remember it, you go, oh, I'll have this forever and ever, amen. I know I thought I did. and I don't, and I've lost it. But it's important to have those little touchstones. And Mama Vi, I really appreciate you giving us a spot to put literally touch stones.
Yes.
And I will be sending you some of the more important parts of Orlando's history. Going all the way back to the AIDS crisis and since then. There's surely some things that I can put in there.
That's great, Cecil.
So Cecil, I didn't want a memory garden because it felt so heavy to me.
Yeah.
Yes, this tribe has lost a lot of people, especially in the last 4 or 5 years. But we have 1,000 things that we can celebrate as well. And all of them create our memories. All of them. The joys, the celebrations, the births, the crazy, I published my first book, I just turned 21 and I had my first legal drink. I attended my first pride. All of those are important memories in our life. All of those things are things we celebrate. But where do you put it? It wasn't to create a cemetery. It was to create a place where all these wonderful memories can go.
DA suggests a garden of intentionality.
I like the celebration garden as well.
Yep.
The garden of intentionality is definitely something that DA would put in there. That's one of the reasons I love that, Lou.
Thank you, Cecil.
Hey, Mom, you've been talking about the Mocha exhibit. There's a lot of options in the library that could go to that Mocha exhibit. Is it a generalized exhibit or is it focusing on something?
It is focusing on sex work. What the library is going to be is the frame to an incredible painting of sorts. We're setting up the exhibit to kind of be a big, comfy place to sit and put your feet up and read. By this time, next month, I will finish making the layout definite. There'll be couches, there'll be different areas to walk through. In the center, there is going to be a stage that's going to be used for performance artists who are talking about sex work. There are going to be any one of a number of lecturers coming in over the course of the month that the library is going to be set up, who are going to be doing different lectures and presentations and classes within it. So the library is basically building a frame for an ever-changing painting that is going to be going through the library. Now, when you stop and really analyze that, almost anything could be considered sex work, which is one of the things that I'm going to, as I'm creating this with Lady Katerina, for whom this is a specialty for her. We're going to be getting people to think about what the term sex work actually means. And we're going to be touching on a lot of different aspects, the least of which is actually prostitution. We're going to begin the exhibit, because these are the two things that stick out in my mind, is the question of what is sex work. The next sign they'll see is, it's not what you think it is. And, you know, aside from scandalizing the Christian right, the museum is prepared for it. We're going to be looking at things like Samson and Delilah. Technically, she was paid to find his weakness, use her feminine wiles to find that weakness and then destroy it. That's sex work. We're going to be looking at the patriarch of Judeo-Christian and Abrahamic faiths. When Abraham told Sarah to go thee unto Pharaoh, that he might find favor with me. That's sex work. We're going to be looking at Josephine Baker, using that incredible exotic banana dance of hers to charm German officers while she was in bed with them, to give up secrets that she then turned right around and gave to the resistance. There's a reason France gave her the Croix de Guerre, the highest decoration that could be given to a civilian. And we're going to be looking at things like that, including, much to the museum's chagrin, they're making me a replica of the Berkeley horse, the original one by Teresa Berkeley, so that she could cane, flog, and birch the sons of British prep schools and nobles and so on. She became the highest paid prostitute in London, and very rarely did she have sex with her clients. And yet she was using her feminine wiles, a birch or a cane or a riding crop, to make happy an awful lot of men who had grown up in British prep schools and were caned, birched, flogged, or otherwise by their upperclassmen. Most considered it punishment. A few learned to like it. And dear Miss Berkeley made an awful lot of money from her invention. We're going to be looking at also the darker side. We're going to be looking at Jack the Ripper and other crimes against sex workers. We're going to be talking about geisha. Even though they do not have genital sex with their clients, they are using their erotic wiles and getting paid for it. All of that is sex work. So we're going to be showing bits and pieces of all of that in the library that we are going to be setting up at MoCA, Museum of Contemporary Art.
All right, Scott.
Hello. I would be remiss. I kind of want to back up a little bit more when you talked about women and authors and people part of our community. You missed two. And I would be really remiss if I didn't bring up Midori.
Yes.
And Cecilia Tan.
Good God, you're right. And I adore both of those women.
So I just wanted to make mention of those two.
And thank you for adding them, Scott. For anyone who does not know either, get thine fingers and wallet directly to Amazon. Look up Greenery Press for starts, and anything that Cecilia has published and or written. And then when you finish there, if there's anything left on your credit card, and you're even remotely curious about bondage, body play, shibari, fetishes, or just general beauty, look up Fetish Diva Midori and buy a book or two, or maybe three, since I think she's done 3 of them just on shibari and bondage.
Janet Hardy, I'm just reading in chat. Janet Hardy, Gloria Brame. I'm going to add Judy Tallwing McCarthy. Lady D is still in the chat, hasn't said anything tonight.
Petra, where are you?
as a person whose most of my influences are women, I could probably throw you a list together. There's too many to name. Vivian
know.
Kramer, thank you, Scott. Linda Ryder.
I know a certain husband that wrote a book.
Yeah, that one.
Miss Carter. Wow. Anybody else? Feel free
Welcome to Women's History Month.
Woohoo!
Lady D, are you there?
Petra, where are you?
She's hiding. Joanne Wadsworth.
I've
Go ahead,
got
Bert.
Joanne here.
I'm here.
No.
I'm here.
We're mentioning names. I'm reading chat. Lady D.
Yes.
Petra, aren't you about ready for a book?
Sis, don't start. Don't start. I am writing a book. Actually, I'm in the midst of writing two, but it's gonna be a minute.
All good things are worth waiting for, and I'm a patient woman.
I know you are.
I'm not. I'm not. Do you need help?
I know another one that's in the chat, and that would be Girl Dana.
Lady D and I talked about her book this weekend.
I'm so jealous.
Indeed, we did, Dana. Indeed, we did. Everybody is on me about this book. It's coming, y'all. It's coming. It's coming.
I'm gonna put Miss Dana up here because Miss Dana is an influence that many of y'all probably don't know, and I'm not going to tell the story. But
Good.
y'all, this one right here has done a lot. Thank you, Miss Dana. I'll quit embarrassing you.
Hell, Dana, you can write a book too, sister girl.
Now that
Thank
right
you.
there,
Yes, thank
yes.
you. I have been saying that a couple years now.
You know,
Yes, ma'am.
you did some things in a time where stuff wasn't even being done. So there's a book inside of you somewhere too.
I got a presentation coming. I'll work on the book after I get that.
Right.
I'm about to say everybody's got a story to tell.
And as the new medium is becoming more and more visual, and books are beginning to talk, do all sorts of things. Not that I'm putting any pressure on Hex at all,
Oh,
but for the past couple of years, she's been doing these amazing presentations. And because I am greedy, and as many times I've told you, it's always only about me, they need to all be preserved because they're brilliant. And running them one behind another as a video book, personally, I think would be a fabulous idea. That's just me.
Hex, can I spotlight you or
As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, as long as I have run her over now twice, I might as well go for a third time.
I'm going to ask permission before I put a spotlight on you. Is that okay?
What prompted you to start that Black History series? It is brilliant. And now I'm not blowing smoke. I'm making a simple statement.
Well, I mean, you were there, Mama. It was the young 8. That was our plan, and I just followed through. I wasn't going to let it go.
Where can
Thank
this be found?
I'm sorry.
Where can this be found? Can this be found?
Yes, they can be found on Facebook. I've made them public. I have made an album so that I can send these to Mama later. And they are also on TikTok. So on TikTok, I am XXX Hex, and the Hex is with 3 X's. The XXX part is just so you know how to spell Hex with the 3 X's. And then I also have another TikTok account that is actually the backup in case I get banned with my first account, which is my name is Hex, again, spelled with the 3 X's, correct. And then on Facebook, if you don't have TikTok or you don't like TikTok or getting lost in the rabbit holes that are very common, it's XXX Hex with only 1 X. It's triple is my first name, X is the middle, and Hex with 1 X is the last name because Facebook is a hater and they won't let me have 3 X's.
Those are not completely accurate, but I tried to type them as you were saying them so that they're in the chat.
Yes.
Because you started them last year, continued them this year, they are brilliant.
I
And
started in, I think it was 2020 is when I started doing them. And then I was reposting them.
yes,
And then I started making the TikToks this year because I just thought maybe it'd be a little easier. And I just used a lot of the photos that you sent me that first year that I started. And I found a few others and I just kind of upload them. And I think what it was really that led me to continue with it with TikTok, because I was already doing it on Facebook, was
good.
I ran across a lot of people that didn't think we existed. That there, you know, they didn't think that there were Black leather people or Black kinky people. And I was like, well, excuse me, have you met my grandmama? So I made a point to try to highlight a lot of us, and starting with Rachel Williams. And I made sure that I talked about Mistress Mirror. I really love the tiger picture that I found of you guys. That was my favorite. And I was afraid that that was actually going to get taken down because they're so sensitive on TikTok, you know. So now I've found the trick is to upload the video on TikTok, immediately put it on Facebook so I don't lose the copy, because if they take it on TikTok, I can't get it back. It comes out of my phone too, like there's no storage. So it's been
Really?
Yeah, it's been a lot of I have to do, I think it's Lady D's video, actually, I need to redo on TikTok because they took it down immediately. And so I had to take the recording of what I had and put it to the actual video, and it sounds terrible. But on Facebook, it's great. So like everything is excellent on Facebook.
Don't stop and don't restrict this to Black History Month only. Start doing with any figure.
I actually am still doing it. I just had to take a break for a couple of days. I did lead into women's history, and that, you know, because I'm a rebel. So I did. I continued on with the Goddess Indigo. You saw that one.
Yes.
She was day 1, and then I did. I did Jackie Thompson, and then I did an honorary leather as fuck award for Ruth Ellis, because she's not leather, but I still thought that her life and her contributions was leather as fuck. So, and then I took a break. But I promise I do have more people. I think some of the people that I plan on talking about are actually in this meeting tonight. So.
It sounds awesome. It really does. I'm going to go look. Master Cecil put your Facebook link in chat.
Oh, thank you.
I sent you a friend request.
The most important thing, Hex, is that they not be lost. They are too good to be lost.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And at some point in time, and this is just an offer, if you want to get together with Shar and do a sub-channel on the library page, let's do it.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That sounds awesome.
In the YouTube?
Yeah, on the YouTube, so that
website?
it does not get lost.
Oh yeah, we can absolutely do that.
I'm obsessed about that. They need to be accessible as a body of work. They're brilliant.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, be happy to do that. And really all we'd need to do is is get them up, get the videos so that we can put them up and put them there if you're willing. Be happy to.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you
that's
so
no
much.
force. That's just until you get your own channel, and you do need one.
Or we can just set you one up.
I know. It, you know, there were a lot of obstacles in my way for the last few years that things are starting to open up now. So I plan on doing some more traveling. I'm hoping that I can finally make it to a con that you're at, and my sister. So we'll see. I'm slowly but surely. I thought it was a big win to get through all of February and have something every single day. So
That's awesome. That is so
That's
awesome.
If you need to get a hold of me, you can contact I or my sir. He's Matthew Carey.
Who is
Will
also
do.
on Facebook.
Yeah, I
Okay.
sent a
I'm
friend
not.
request too, so you'll be able, you
Yeah.
can get me right there.
Yeah, I don't do that Facebook thing.
Thank-
So
Thank you so much for all of that and for letting me put you up and participating. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's
Not quite.
10
9 more
o'clock
minutes.
my time. Aren't you
Anybody
all
else got
tired?
anything?
no, we're not
No,
tired. We're
I
waiting
think
to see the books.
I think what everybody wants me to do is stop recording so you can share those pictures.
Oh, hell yes.
Can I get some thumbs ups? Give me some thumbs ups on your reaction. There we go. That's what they're waiting for. All right, we'll start the after party a little early. Don't you? Not yet. Not yet. Everybody, if you would, I have linked the YouTube channel. It would help us out tremendously if you would subscribe, just to help us build a little bit of a base there. Watch the videos; they are great.
If you're not a YouTube aficionado, please also like the videos. Apparently, it's a thing.
Yes, like, subscribe, all the
It
fun
keeps
stuff.
the algorithm guessing.
Yeah, it beats the algorithm. All right, everybody.
And while I'm thinking about it, everybody knows that I keep a poster from Tom Butts behind me, because not only is he a good and honorable man and a realtor, he contributes to a lot of what we do. So who's going to be the next person to send me the JPG for a sign that I can put up here that advertises their business? Just thought I'd drop that. I'll print the sign if you do your own graphics. I'm a firm believer in advertising us.
And a fabulous patron. Going to throw in fabulous patron for Tom.
Oh, yes,
And on that note, Mama, we will see you
at the library.